What is up, y'all? And welcome back to episode 23 of That's No Moon Pod. Today, we had the season finale of The Mandalorian Season 3. I want to give my thoughts and review of the episode 8 season finale and kind of just give my overall thoughts on what I thought of the season and what it could lead into going into the future with Mandalorian and Grogu and the whole kind of Dave Filoni Star Wars universe going on right now. There's actually a lot of stuff going on news-wise that I really wanted to get into. Obviously, season 3 of Mandalorian is the hot topic right now, but I mean, we had DC rumored directors for the upcoming Brave and the Bold Batman movie. There's been a lot of talk behind the scenes with Pedro Pascal and Jon Favreau and what could them having some sort of beef with executives behind the scenes have something to do with kind of what's been going on with the mixed reviews for season 3 of The Mandalorian. Jonathan Majors gets dropped from his agency, and then now he's got multiple accusers coming out in support against him, pretty much saying that this dude's been a scumbag to us as well, and what that means for Marvel going forward, because it looks like Jonathan Majors is in deep water right now, and it's going to be tough for him to get out of, and it's not looking good because, you know, for him to get dropped from his agency is one thing, and then you got more people coming out against you. It's definitely not what Marvel wants right now, especially with how their kind of situation's been going with their storytelling and movies. There's just been a whole bunch of random drama going on, just different tidbits from different IPs. But let's just talk about the season finale of Mandalorian right off the top. Did I like this episode? I really did. Do I wish it was 15 minutes longer? I really do. That's kind of my only complaint of the finale was I just wish there was a little bit more time that we could have gotten in between each scene. I thought it needed an extra scene with Bo-Katan and kind of her and Moff Gideon having some kind of just more of a standoff and just kind of jawing back and forth to one another, WWE style, and, you know, just them kind of digging at each other verbally while also kind of going at it. I really liked how the CGI throughout this whole season has been really consistent, and whenever Mando was kind of going through the tunnels of Moff Gideon's base and he had R5 kind of having him control the power shields that were guarding Moff Gideon's Mandalorian troopers, and it was cool how he was just kind of going by each level and one by one getting a weapon from each stage as he went through, and just the way this episode was directed by the same director from last week's. It had that same kind of consistency. It really felt like it was kind of just one big episode cut into half, and just the way this episode started with them running, you could tell that's kind of pretty much what they did. So they kind of carried over from where we left off from last week into this one, and just the stylistic choices overall I really liked. I was laughing when R5 was doing his thing with the controls, helping out Mando, and the little Imperial droid thing that's kind of on guard looking out, and he's kind of trying to be sneaky and hack into the systems while this little droid's like roaming the halls, making sure everything's all right. But just the way they made that scene play out and the way it was shot and directed was really funny. Kind of had there were some really weird moments, not weird, but just interesting choices like that. Just the way that scene was shot, it had some A New Hope vibes to it, where it kind of, it felt like Luke talking to R2, trying to tell him what to do, help him out, or talking to C-3PO when they're in the garbage disposal. And that last shot at the end, not trying to skip around too much, but the way it ended with that Looney Tunes kind of closeout deal with the circle closing in, kind of like a blast door, I guess. That's what they were going for, maybe. But just some interesting choices like that throughout this episode I thought were pretty cool. The fight scenes I really enjoyed, kind of just seeing these Mandalorians going at it toe to toe and hand to hand pretty much for the most part. Mando had some blasters for a few seconds, and Bo-Katan had the Darksaber, of course, but then we see later on that Moff Gideon eventually just freaking crushes that thing, and the Darksaber is pretty much no more at this point, I guess. But I guess that's kind of what they were going for, to where the big picture of the episode, and I guess this season, was reuniting all the Mandalorian tribes and to all come together as one tribe and take over Mandalore, their rightful home world, and rebuild it to what it was. And instead of always being at war with each other, just having this peace with one another finally, after all these years of war and trauma that this group of people have gone through throughout the years, to finally forget about all that past traditions that just hold them back, including the Darksaber. Even though I love the Darksaber, and I hope one day maybe it makes its return somehow, I think that was the overall big picture of kind of Bo-Katan's arc coming to an end this season. And I thought it was really cool that they got to have that triple threat match with Moff Gideon. They're all armored up. Grogu has a cool moment with the guards with the that took out Paz Vizsla last week. I thought some crazier stuff was going to happen, to be honest, with Grogu in the scene. I thought maybe he was going to grab one of the Praetorian guards' swords or staffs or whatever, electric staffs, and kind of fly around with it in the air or something. I don't know. Probably too heavy of a weapon for him at this young age, but it was still a cool scene, just him jumping around and being able to dodge these trained assassins at such a young age with so little training. But yeah, I thought we were going to see some crazier things in this episode, because normally in Mandalorian, we're so used to big reveals or big appearances, but this episode was kind of, like I said, it was just too short of an episode. It needed 15 minutes at least. I liked how they go back to Navarro, get the IG unit running. It's going to be the Marshal Navarro. I like how, once we see Moff Gideon defeated and we saw what he was doing behind the scenes, trying to clone himself and trying to clone a Force-sensitive version of himself. I don't know if that's just kind of something that was thrown in or if this was a plan all along. It seemed like the whole Dr. Pershing thing, they wanted that episode to really have some meaning whenever this season concluded. And, obviously we knew Moff Gideon was trying to get Grogu for some cloning purposes, and now we pretty much know why, because he was trying to get himself cloned, but as a Force-sensitive version of himself, which is weird because I don't know if he's ever been trained for any kind of Jedi training with the Force, unless he may have been trained by some Sith apprentice way back when, or maybe he's been hiding under the shadows with somebody that we don't know yet. And I mean, because we know that he could use the Darksaber, but we know he's obviously not the best with it. So I mean, that kind of played a little weird. Obviously they're kind of trying to throw in some things for helping out the story from Rise of Skywalker with cloning Palpatine and obviously Snoke. But I don't know, I thought that whole thing kind of played out a little weird with him and his clones, and how they all just eventually get blown up with him as well. I feel like this season was really missing Moff Gideon throughout, just kind of poking his head in and out here and there, but they kind of held him out until the end, and his overall story kind of felt a little rushed, especially when you think about that Lizzo and Jack Black episode, the time that was wasted, if you were to say, just kind of doing nothing in the middle of a season when we could have gotten a whole episode with some Moff Gideon stuff and who knows, just anything else besides what happened from that Lizzo and Jack Black episode, pretty much. And yeah, once we see Moff Gideon kind of just get blown up, and then, all that happens, they all feel like they won, it's all a victory, and then we finally see them all coming together at the end, and they're pretty much doing the whole thing of the Mandalorians with Paz Vizsla's son, taking the oath, and then we see Grogu, and Din wants Grogu to, take the oath and be with the Creed, but he has to adopt him. So he's like, all right, well, I'll adopt him. He's my son. They've already been calling him my son and saying I'm his dad, so might as well make it official right here in front of y'all. So now he's Din Grogu. And then Din Grogu looks down in the waters, and sure enough, the Mythosaur is down there and kind of feels his vibe from the Force. So maybe one day Grogu could hop on the Mythosaur, and maybe he'll one day rule Mandalore once he's old enough, which I think would be cool. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit throughout talking about this episode, but just to kind of get to the ending of the episode, I guess, from what we see after the IG unit and Navarro with Greef Karga, Mando and Grogu, they talk to the New Republic X-Wing pilot. I keep forgetting his name for some reason. It bugs me. Anyways, they talk to him and pretty much say like, hey, if you ever need some help dealing with the people on the Outer Rim, I got you. Just give me a call. I'm a bounty hunter for hire, but I gotta choose wisely because I got my son with me rolling, and I can't be taking none of these crazy missions like I used to because I got a kid now. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll think about it, but we all know what's going to go down. So I don't know if Mando and Grogu are going to be kind of just helping out with the New Republic for the most part, because we see them chilling at their little spot on Navarro that Greef Karga gave them. They got their ship parked in the back. They got their little spot with a nice view. Mando kicks back on the front porch, and that's when we get that Looney Tunes ending with that transition, but kind of had like that Infinity War ending with Thanos just kind of chilling on roll credits, you know? But I kind of liked how it had Mando and Grogu finally a family between the two in a home with no more Moff Gideon to worry about from what we know of. And right now, things are good. Life's good. And things are looking up. And I'm glad they kind of had that little nice happy ending. Because it could have ended a lot worse for both of them. And I think overall a happy ending for them this season, just the way this season kind of had played out and had its bumps in the road. I think it was a safe way to end the season, but a good way, because kind of like how I was mentioning at the beginning with this whole Pedro Pascal drama, Jon Favreau beef with Kathleen Kennedy behind the scenes, it kind of just leaves it open for, if Pedro Pascal is gone and maybe he's done with Star Wars or Mandalorian, they could kind of just have him be chilling. He'll be a hire for the New Republic in the background while we go into Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and The Acolyte and Andor Season 2. And they could kind of maybe hopefully patch things up with Pedro Pascal within these next few years before, if there is a Season 4 of Mandalorian, which I think there is for sure going to be a Season 4, but you never know. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, I mean, I just think Pedro Pascal, obviously, right now is one of the hottest actors working in the biz, coming off of The Last of Us. He's just got that star presence right now in pop culture. And I think if he wants to take off his helmet, let him take off his freaking helmet, dude, okay? Bo-Katan does it every 30 seconds. She's taking off her helmet. And I'm glad she does. I don't got a problem with it. There's plenty of rules that you could bend. You did plenty of it with the whole Darksaber thing and how that kind of, he just passed it down and gave it to Bo-Katan. You could find some way for Pedro Pascal to take off his helmet and give Grogu kisses, okay? It's not a big deal. Give him all the money he wants, because if you keep Pedro Pascal attached to the Mandalorian and you're letting him show his face more, he's happy, and I think the fans will be even more happier keeping him around because he's a moneymaker right now, and I think you got to do whatever you can to patch things up with him and keeping him as the Mandalorian, because this season wasn't really about Din Djarin or Grogu, really. It was mainly about Bo-Katan and them reclaiming Mandalore and reuniting the clan pretty much together on Mandalore. And that was pretty much the majority of the story for season 3. So, like I said, I like the way this season ended with the happy ending with Mando and Grogu just chilling, happy ever after. But I like how it kind of leaves the door open for things to come in the future. I just thought overall this season was kind of not well put together, pacing wise. It kind of felt like there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen at some points, and it kind of seemed like the story was going to one place and they kind of derailed plans and it went into another, and then it just felt like you could see certain scenes of the show and we're like, oh, okay, this looks like something that they really planned out and mapped out on the storyboards and all that. And there were some episodes and scenes where you could be like, it looks like they just shot that in the backyard, in the back lot. Or they were just like, who's free right now? Get Lizzo and Jack Black in costume. We need someone here today. We're shooting this scene and we got nothing to do. And that's what we got with that episode. It just kind of felt like that throughout the season, which sucks because Mandalorian has been so consistent. And this season kind of had a little bit of that Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett vibe to it, which you could just feel it and you could just see it on screen, and it sucks because you know that the potential is right there, but someone or something got thrown into the mix and plans changed. So who knows what really happens behind the scenes, but overall this season wasn't the best season of The Mandalorian, not by a long shot, but I think with Ahsoka coming out this year still, I think that's going to be what we were kind of hoping for with Mandalorian season 3. Still like what we got. I just wish it could have been a little bit more tighter and a little bit more drawn out. 2 more episodes at least. Hopefully if they do decide to go with the season 4, that like I said, they're able to patch things up with Pedro and they kind of get back to business with what people fell in love with The Mandalorian in the first place. And yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, there's been a bunch of different things going on news-wise within pop culture. I kind of already touched on the Jonathan Majors stuff. I think he's done. I think Marvel is done with him. If I'm Marvel, cast Henry Cavill as Doctor Doom. Get Doctor Doom as the main bad. People have been wanting that for years now. And if you get a guy like Henry Cavill to step in and kind of save the Marvel Universe after getting tossed out by DC, you bring in Henry Cavill to save the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the villain. Forget Jonathan Majors. You could act like those end credit scenes in Ant-Man Quantumania never happened. Delete them off Disney Plus. And pretty much just act like that movie or that story point never happened in this specific timeline. Because Marvel can't be playing no games right now, and these allegations against Jonathan Majors are serious, and it looks like they're gonna go and move on without him. So hopefully they decide something quickly and it kind of gets their trajectory back on point from where it was a few years ago. I'm not too mad at it. I wasn't the biggest fan of Jonathan Majors in Ant-Man Quantumania. I thought he was good, but for something so crazy as the quantum realm, I felt like just the way the character was portrayed, you never really feel scared of him as a villain. So I think this is their chance to kind of capitalize on some of the mistakes they've been making, and moving forward, hopefully just gain more traction. I really want to talk about these because Jedi Survivor is coming out in a week from now. Today is April 19th. And we're 1 week away from Jedi Survivor, which follow me on Twitch at Admire My Moonsault. I'll be live streaming that game for sure. So if you want to come through and chat with me on Twitch, I'll be playing Jedi Survivor next week. I still got to pre-order it, but I'm going to make sure to do that beforehand. I'm super excited. I think the story that's going to be told in this game is going to kind of fill a little void that was missing a little bit from what we got from this season of Mandalorian, I feel like. It's just going to hit like a cool sweet spot for us sweaties in Star Wars, especially with the time period coming off of Bad Batch. I'm super stoked for it. But I really wanted to talk about these Battlefront 3 rumors that got dropped just recently, saying how they were so close to releasing Battlefront 3 back in the day, and it was literally 2 yards from getting finished from what they said. And just looking at back on how Star Wars games used to be back in the day, it seemed like there was a good one every year. And I just remember playing the old school Battlefront games on the PS2 with my brother, and we would just play that game for hours. And then obviously when Battlefront 2 came out, that was a whole nother deal. Always try to rent that game when I could. Just being able to play with the different Jedi and being able to play on the Death Star, just these different missions and the clones. And it was just a sweet period of Star Wars in my life that I remember. And I remember hearing about the Battlefront 3 rumors for so long and how it was about to get released. I remember all the rumors back in the day. And just to hear these reports come out saying that it was close to coming out and how it would have been so cool. And it just got me more excited for Jedi Survivor, because it's been a minute since we've gotten a good Star Wars game, and I feel like Jedi Survivor, like I said, is just going to fill that void that Star Wars fans have been wanting from the story aspect with the Jedi especially. And like I said, follow me on Twitch at Admire My Moonsault. I'm super stoked to be playing that and live streaming it. Because just the way that game falls in with the time period, it's just like right around the fall of the Jedi. With all these new Star Wars movies and the whole timeline that we got announced at Star Wars Celebration, Dawn of the Jedi, The Old Republic, the High Republic, and kind of where the Mando universe is at with the New Republic, and just these different time periods that Star Wars has been hitting recently and is going to in the future. It's super exciting and encouraging. But yeah, like I said, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Instagram at AdmireMyMoonsault. I'm posting a comic on there every day, new releases. I gotta talk about this new issue of The Punisher that just came out today. As I'm recording this, I just read Punisher issue 11, and it is the craziest Punisher run I've ever read in my life. The powers that he has now, and just the whole story with him and his family. If you're not reading the new Punisher run, that's easily my highest recommendation for any new comic books right now if you're trying to get into one. But yeah, like I said, I'm posting comics on my Instagram every day at AdmireMyMoonsault. Now that Mando is over and we don't have Star Wars on Wednesdays no more, I might start uploading the pod on maybe a Tuesday, maybe a Sunday, maybe early Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure now, but once I kind of get a grasp on exactly how I want to start uploading with the times, I will continue to be as consistent as possible. I'm still really enjoying this. I still have a lot of things in my notes that I didn't get into, but I feel like I should save for a future episode. Who knows what I'm going to talk about next week, but like I said, there's plenty of things that I really want to get my thoughts on, and just, like I said, things happen every day in this world, and there's things that I find interesting that I want to get my opinions on. And if you come across this podcast and are listening to this right now, give me your thoughts on everything I just said in this episode, and hopefully you stick around and continue on with this journey with me. And yeah, I guess that'll do it for this week. Like I said, I don't know which day the next episode will land on, but I got you no matter what. Each week I'm going to be bringing you a new pod, that's for sure. Again, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch y'all on the flip. Peace.